White with the My Sexy Business team, and I'm here with my beautiful co-host,
Kristi Bridges from One Moment Wiser.
We are here at the Hope to Hope conference. Wowee, what a 4 days.
I can't believe we're almost at the end of our 4 days.
Well, we have had some amazing speakers. We've had some amazing people come on, but I have to tell you, this next couple that's coming on, I just adore.
Aww.
They are doing things at a younger age. I wish I was them like when I was younger, because they are doing things the right way, I think. Coming in with, I'm telling you, they're coming in courageous. That's what they're doing. So welcome, Joe and Christina Moffett, to the Hope to Hope conference.
Hello, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Well, you know, you guys are sacrificing something to be here with us, and I don't want to skip over that. You all actually did how many 1,000-mile move in the last couple of days, and still were willing to come on.
Yeah, we moved from San Diego up to the Bay Area with family because we're getting a house built in Idaho, which is super exciting because we're going to raise our family there and just start a whole new chapter of life, which is so exciting. But I came out to Idaho last Friday to get an apartment, as you can see behind us, until our house is finished being built. And then I flew back on Thursday to the Bay Area, picked her up, and then we drove yesterday for 9 hours, and we're just getting settled into place. So
he's being modest. He drove out here and moved everything into our apartment, set up the whole thing, because I'm pregnant, and he didn't want me to have to move things. So he came out and set up our whole place, which was really, I don't know, sweet.
Can't have anything happen to the little guy.
You make me mama proud again. I can't help it.
Awesome.
I have already told Joe at one point that he needed to make sure there was enough room I could come and visit, because I'm telling you, I'm so excited about your baby and about all the things that are going on in your world.
Well, there's going to be a lot of videos to come, so it's like you'll know them through the videos, which will be great.
Well, I want you to give them some history, because I know you have a lot of stories to tell, and this conference is all about stories of hope, like places where maybe we had something happen, like the loss of my son is actually what created the momentum to build this conference. And people have talked about business failings, they've talked about relationship failings, they've talked about, the loss of someone they love, they've talked about bad choices they've made. I mean, there's all kinds of stories that we all have. Mm-hmm. But tell us, take us to your story. I can't wait to hear.
Should we start individually or how we met?
You just tell me whatever you want everybody to hear.
All right, I'll share a little bit, and then she can come from her perspective. Okay. I know I was at a point in my life where I wasn't being true to myself. I wasn't living through my top values. And basically I was just this young single guy that just wore a mask. And this mask was what the whole outside world wanted to see. But inside, I would never be congruent. I would never be in alignment with who I truly wanted to be. And anyway, to fast forward through a lot of that history was I was running a pattern in relationships where I'd be in and out of a relationship after about a year. Realized through a values integration process how I wasn't living within that started shifting it. But what ultimately made the shift for me was, and it was the best thing that's ever happened, was I got cheated on by my ex, and it threw me in this whirlwind of what makes relationships successful, what doesn't. And I had to start first and foremost learning to love myself and just share what I wanted and be vulnerable enough to tell people what I want, what I desire, and a queen or whatnot. And so that I started studying what made relationships successful, what made them struggle. And then I got really clear on what I wanted in a woman. And when we met, I'll just kind of fast forward here. When we met.
Can I stop you for just a second?
Yeah.
Because I want to back up for just a minute. The incongruent part, explain what that means, because that's one of the sexy vocabulary words. I think if you're incongruent in your life, things come the way that you need them to. So will you take just a second to make sure that everybody that's listening can understand what you mean by that?
So where I was at that phase of my life was I was wanting to be in a relationship and be a committed relationship, but I also was, dating multiple people and wanting to be desired by multiple people. I wanted to, love a million women one way instead of learning to love one woman a million ways. And, and that was just because of a lack of the insecurities that I had. That was because of the fears that I had, because I did have a past of being cheated on, and then I would withdraw. And instead of being this man that said, let me step up and be this man that is supposed to be this great king for my girl at the time, and it was just like I pulled away and I wanted her to chase me. And that doesn't solve anything, and that's not how I saw myself, but that's what I was doing. And I knew I was living like incongruently with myself. And if it wasn't for this one, I'd still be running that pattern, actually.
But no, that's a great explanation, because, I just want to make sure everybody understands. I know this story, and I know how amazing the story is, but I want to make sure everybody that's listening that doesn't already know, that part, because we've all made, I would say, bad choices when we didn't know how to, get what we really wanted. We have been incongruent in our actions. And, it didn't match what we were looking for, but yet we were not living up to someone who would be that person.
Right. That's so true. And I know I got really clear at that point of what I desired in a woman with my list, everything details, even down to the intimate experiences I wanted to have, right? And what I desired. And then I had my non-negotiables, which I wouldn't tolerate, what I wouldn't deal with. But the last list that I had was probably the most important one. And it was, who do I need to become to attract this great queen in my life? And that's where I started going to work. And that led me to a Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within event. And that's where I met this one. So I'll let her tell her side of that story up to that point.
Yeah, mine's a little different from his. I was in a 14-year relationship, and it was very mentally abusive. My partner was, I would say, a sex addict, and there was a lot of, from my perspective, like having to try to be who I thought he wanted me to be, which was like a porn star, every which way you could imagine. Towards the end of our relationship, there were multiple people. I mean, it was just crazy. And there was drugs, and I was just at my absolute rock bottom. And I was just trying to please him. And so I hit this point where I knew I wanted more, and leaving that relationship was probably the hardest thing that I had ever had to do, because it was done probably, honestly, 7 years prior to me having the courage to leave. And so I too started doing the work on myself, going through a lot of the same things he did, where I got really clear on what I wanted, what I didn't want in a relationship, and most importantly, just like his story, went to work on myself and who I needed to be. It was still 4 years before I had ever met him that I was doing the work on myself, because even to this day, I still have so much self-judgment and insecurities, with who I am, and not with who I am, but what I mean by that is we're vulnerable here, right? Just insecurities about looks or not being good enough. I've been doing this work for 13 plus years, and they still pop up, right? And this guy comes in, he's just absolutely incredible in the way he supports me. But so we were both doing the work, and then we landed ourselves at a Tony Robbins event. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow.
Really cool, because at that point, as I'll just wrap up here on this part, is I was starting to live in my values and just knowing what I wanted. I wasn't trying to play games anymore, and I shared with her my list, and she shared hers with me, because we're like, look, we're really attracted to each other. But if this is going to work, here's what I'm looking for. Are you this? And she did the same. And just so magically, she fit all 58 things on that first list. So,
I love it. I absolutely love that you're like that you came to the end of yourself. I love that part. And I love the part that, you both came together wholly instead of partially. I think that, we're guilty of not bringing our whole self because we don't work on ourselves enough. Mm-hmm. And we bring ourselves to a relationship and wonder why it doesn't work. We've got one broken person and trying to connect with another broken person that, we haven't worked. So I think that's really some sage advice. I don't guess you were given advice, but I'm going to give it for you. Definitely working on yourself before you come into a relationship.
Like emptying out the baggage.
Yeah, so many people come into relationships with their past baggage. It's like they're lugging all their baggage with them. If you honestly could see a person's baggage, they're like, oh man, I'd love to get to know you, but oh shit, look at all the baggage you have. No, I'm good, right? But unfortunately, you can't see that. And so we do have to step into this space of, that vulnerable space to say, hey, I have some, this is what's happened to me in the past. And some of that shows up. And sometimes people don't have that conversation because it's icky and it's weird feelings. And, we've been married for almost 2 years, going on 2 years now. And I know everyone's probably like, oh, they're just babies. Wait till they hit 7 or 10, maybe even 20 years. And it's like, I appreciate their belief systems of their model of the world, but the way we operate, we know where we're going. And we don't say that, in a cocky manner, but in a confident manner, because we know we live our life by design. We're designing our relationship. And that means being open, vulnerable. I mean, can I share last night?
Sure.
So last night there were some things that happened, and she's, pregnant and emotional. And she's just crying in tears. And I'm just like, part of me as a man is like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. Let me just fix it and move on. And then it's like, I got to sit there and be present and listen and not try to fix anything. And it's like, it eats away at me on the inside, but I know what it's doing for her. And so I had to be vulnerable in a position to share, like, hey, here's what's going on. And within a little bit of time, we were able to kind of just come to an understanding with each other and learn. And we've grown from that. And I think that's the biggest thing is we always look at how can we grow. And I feel I'm blessed because she's the same way as how do I grow from this? And she takes notes and she stretches me.
That's awesome.
Well, they're probably like, what's going on? Let me just share, because I think this might be supportive for a lot of women too. Being pregnant and having your body change is different. It's like, and there's a lot of hormones going on. And I think I just felt a little insecure last night. And with things like Instagram and Facebook, you just scroll through a news feed and there's like supermodel looking women, And so I was just facing some of my own insecurities, which because we're so conscious in our relationship, I know that for me was past baggage. The fears that came up were not how he would show up because he's so supportive, but how I had so much jealousy and fear in my previous relationship, 14 years of conditioned thoughts and thinking. And so what he was sharing is like, me crying, and he just was so open to listening without having to speak back, right? And then giving me the certainty that I needed in our relationship. So it's just, it was just such a beautiful moment.
Well, and that'll pay off for a very long time, Joe. I want you to know that.
I'm taking notes. I'm learning. I'm learning from all this. So I have to sit there in my head and just shut up and listen. Literally, I have to do that at some points because I want to fix it. As masculine energy wants to do, we want to fix. And so I just got to learn to just be and allow it to just flow. So.
But that's the thing is you have come a long way in your life to go from being insecure to being secure enough to know that if you just listen and put down your desire to fix it and not try to be the superhero so that it looks good, really is good, that's a pretty huge thing.
Well, I've always learned that, and it took a while, sometimes it takes a lot to get through a man, right? But it took many times to remember that a relationship's a place to give, right? It's not always this place just to receive. Like, it's that you give, and when you give. Not people think just let me give gifts, let me give, whatever that might be. Most of the time, it's not really what a woman desires. It's like they want your presence. They want you to just listen. They just want you to hold them in your arms, right? And
we want to be understood.
Yes, there's the thank you. So, and then it took me a long time to figure that out. And she's been a great teacher in reinforcing that. So
I love it. So how did you, like, when you came to yourself, like, and you got serious about what you really wanted, what was something, and I don't want you to tell your list, but, what would you recommend to someone who is struggling? They're in a bad place and they need to work on themselves, but they want a relationship desperately. What caused you to be able to wait a minute? Because, you said, Christina, 4 years, that you were working on yourself. What was the thing that caused you to be able to wait that long? And tell someone how to do that. Like, it's not a list of like tall, dark, and handsome. It's,
So for me, it was the qualities I wanted in a man. I often tell people, unless there's a physical attribute that is just an absolute must, like maybe you're a woman and you're 6 feet tall, and for you, you don't want to date a man who's 5'8". He's got to be taller. But outside of that, it's more like qualities, how I would feel when I was with him was some of the things that were on my list. Sexual preferences, I think, is really important. Family was extremely important to me and on his list as well. So just like he would love my family as much as I do, things like that, and how I would get along with his family. And so those were the things on my list. And then to work on myself, I looked at the list and I would just ask, if this person exists, which I know he does, and if these are the qualities I want in him, how do I show up to each of these qualities? Would I be a match? If I met him today, if health was important, is my health dialed in? Certain things like that. So I kind of would weigh out who I wanted to attract, and then am I a match to that? And then that's where I go in to work on me.
That is so important.
Yeah.
We forget men are people too. And, we demand and create lists, but we have to consider what kind of person are we presenting to them. And we still have insecurities, and, we're never going to be perfect. But when we understand, we want to make sure we're lighting his world, not because we're feeling competitive, but simply because if he's going to give us that much, we want to give back. Yeah. That's so neat that you really did consider your own self.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
I'll be honest, I forget where we were going. Can you repeat?
She's beautiful, right? You're just like, I don't know.
I finally start working on it. Sorry. All right. I was wrapped up in her story. You just got me all going.
Would you like me to introduce you?
All right. So look, for me, I can only speak for my side of the street. And in between when I got cheated on to meeting Christina, I dated women in between. However, at that point, I started to get clear on who I was, and more importantly, who I wanted to become. And that's where the work for me, if I gave myself a visual, I was like, how do I start closing this gap? And so I remember I would, my friends would be going out Friday, Saturday night to the bar. And, I'm like, yeah, sometimes I would go, but more I spent working on myself, listening to audiobooks, reading books, when something came up, like, okay, I just saw this girl I was talking to, she's got a picture online with this guy, and like I thought we were talking, and I'd sit there and I'd have to like kind of write out like what's going on inside of me and explore that a little bit more, because I know that if I carried that into the relationship, it would be I would be chopping down our tree before it even got a chance to grow and nourish. So I started just working on that, and I would always have something playing like 24/7 while in the shower, while in the car, while in the room, while making dinner, like laundry. I'd always have something in my ear, because it's like a sponge. When you squeeze it, whatever you put in is going to come out, right?
Like self-development books,
personal development.
Yeah.
So in that meantime, I realized I'm not settling for anything on this list.
And I'll share, for me, I wasn't like on my own for 4 years. I actually dated a few people, and I think this was the most important thing, was that I would find myself talking to someone, and then I would realize they are not what I have written down, you know, and that's where too, one day I woke up, I was in this not serious relationship, but in some type of relationship. And I got out my journal, because it had been a while since I had connected to my list. And I said, I just have to be honest with myself. This person is not a match. And literally, I prayed to God, and I had to be honest that I was ready again to be in a committed relationship, a long-term relationship. So I was kind of playing the field a little bit for a while. And I prayed, and I said, I'm ready. This is the man that I am ready for. And I met Joe about 2 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
I'll piggyback. I would pray. This is, you know, depending on your spiritual beliefs, you know, but for me, I prayed in my closet, right? I think it's like Matthew or Mark 5:5. It says like, go into your closet and pray. And I like took that scripture literally. I brought my computer in there. I brought my list. I'm on my knees. I'm praying. And I would literally go through I'd search scripture, and I'd just be like, man, like, God, you said here, here, and here I could have this great thing called a wife. And I just started praying and standing on those scriptures. And then I said, I remember I'd start praying for her. I didn't even know who she was. Pray for her, and I didn't know who they were. But I knew eventually, as God is faithful, he would produce this great thing called a wife and a child. And so, you know, I really believe prayer is an integral component to all this too. And if you're going to be someone who's vulnerable, it's like, can you share your beliefs? Can you share your faith? Can you share who you are without condemning other people in a way that you're confident and that you can, you know, say, this is who I am, instead of wearing that mask.
I love it. Take your mask off.
Yeah.
Yeah, mask before clothes. That's what we say.
Oh my goodness. Could somebody please hashtag mask before clothes? That was great.
Take your masks off before the.
Yep. Sorry, we're like, Miss Connie is in the background. And we're like,
it's funny. You know, we coach a lot of people, and most people in relationships, they get that kind of backwards. They take the clothes off, and then it's like, oh, well, let's explore who you really are. And you take the mask off, and it's like, whoa, I don't want that. No way. And it's like we already connected, and then it gets messy, right? Yeah. And so if you would explore first who people are, and then, you know, take that next step of commitment, that's when, you know, the formula becomes correct.
It takes a huge step of faith to meet people and say, I don't want this. And you guys actually did that a couple of times. You didn't, I mean, you met people and you hung out with them, you explored them, and you went, no, I'm going to wait for what I really want. That's a huge step of faith, because we don't know really what's in the future. We don't know really if we're just making up a fictional character, but we know what we want on the inside of us. And at that point, you've been working on yourselves enough to know that you enjoy living with you. And so it's okay if you don't have another person right now as a substitute for what's really on your list. It's okay to walk away from that. Oh man.
You brought up a really good point.
Impressed.
Most people, and this was my pattern in the past, I would come into a relationship with this big gaping hole and say, please somehow make me secure, fill me up. And when we do that, when we live under that illusion, what you're really doing is you're sucking energy away from them to fill you up. And then they're left empty. And then when you come up to, you need more, they're empty. And then it's just like you guys both try to pull from each other at that point. And that's where, trials, tribulations come in, and it doesn't really work out. But when you come and say, look, this is who I am, and the other person, like she did, shows up strong and says, this is who I am, and we're each 100%, then that allows the relationship to not have to be pulled. And now you can start to focus on how do we build together instead of how do we take from each other. Okay?
Yeah, and I want to say the working on yourself piece never ends. So I'm still always working on me. He's always working on him, because I don't want my happiness to be contingent on him. We both fill up our own cups first, and then we bring our full selves to the relationship.
Wonderful. That is such a good thing.
Yeah.
I'll share that as we constantly are working on ourselves, I question myself. I question, am I really showing up? Actually, earlier today, I remember I got done CrossFit, and I didn't have, my hair was like all sweaty, and I was all, no shirt and everything. And I'm like, if we just met, would I show up this way for her? Or would I put my best foot forward? And like, why am I not doing that right now? I'm getting too comfortable. I need to step my game back up, and it's like, I started judging myself, but there's got to be a point where you take the lesson from the judgment and then you let go of the judgment, so that you're free enough to go out and create what you need to create from that lesson. I used to hold on to the judgment, and I used to wear as an anchor as I jumped in the pool or in the ocean, and I'd sink to the bottom. And that's why no relationship was able to flourish, and at least on my behalf. So.
Judgment's so heavy, and I think the biggest judgment that goes on is of ourselves.
Yeah.
And I love what you just said something very profound to me, I think, and that is that you let go of the judgment so that you are free to change what you were talking about. I mean, say that part again.
Yeah, so there's always a lesson in that judgment, and so I take that lesson, and then I got to let go of it, because if I hold on, I'll sink. But if I let go of the judgment, then I can take that lesson and build off of that lesson. And I kind of, from a masculine perspective, a guy's perspective, it's kind of like, if there's any men watching today, it's like I take that piece and I like stack it on top of this other wall, right? That I'm building, this wall of confidence. And it's like I'm leveling myself up. I'm creating this bigger wall security, which is called, I don't want to say my ego, but it's like my self-confidence. I'm building that wall of confidence. And the higher and stronger it is, the harder it is for anyone else out in the external to defeat me.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. And anyone can do that, not just a guy, right?
That's super powerful. But, you said something even earlier about that you're confident in your relationship lasting forever. And it's different than being prideful. Prideful is, I got this, and she's always going to want me and all of that. But what you're talking about building is the confidence that, you're working on you still, and that you're coming together working on your own selves. And to me, I'm just repeating what you're saying, but I love that you're saying this out loud. I'm old. I mean, I kind of laugh, but
older.
You two are so cute, and you look like you're perfect. And I think that coming from you, but really coming from you, you have a place of influence that older people are ignored sometimes by younger people, because we might say that very same thing, and but because you two are such influencers, I just want to stop and acknowledge that, because I really believe that you all are influencing a lot of young people to stop settling, stop taking the leftovers, stop taking your leftovers to the table.
And, you know, the other thing for us is we don't like to give people the illusion that we are perfect. So many people, they do that on Instagram and Facebook and social media, like life's amazing. And then they cut the camera off and they're at each other's throats. Like, you know, we are who we are behind the scenes. People that really know us, like, they've seen us, you know, have, you know, quarrels in front of each other, in front of other people, and they're not like anything massive. We call them speed bumps versus fights, right? So we don't want to have that picture in our mind of a fight, just a speed bump. But the thing is that when we'll post our highlights for sure, right? Like, that's where we want to inspire people. We also post when we have our speed bumps, because we want people to see that we don't want them to fall under this false illusion that we're this utopian couple, which is some illusion you can't even acquire, right? And so if we're putting that out there, again, we're wearing a different mask and we're being incongruent. So we're vulnerable, you know, hey, we just got into a speed bump, you know, and you know, it took, you know, we really got into it. It took us, you know, 20 minutes to get out of it. And here are some of the tools we use, but we share that stuff because we want people to know that you can look perfect, you can smell perfect, you can say the perfect things, but everyone has challenges and everyone has relationship challenges. And we want to make sure people know that, hey, when they have theirs, oh, well, if we're having it, then that means we're on the same path as Joe and Christina. Well, okay, cool. Right? That's what I always wanted to know from my mentors. Like, what do you screw up on? Because if I know I'm doing the same thing you are, I have hope. I have hope in the background. Yeah. So
that's right.
Let me tell you, you two are the perfect, you could be my poster children for the Hope to Hope conference. That is exactly what this conference is about, is the vulnerability to share those things. Take that mask off. Let people realize that, you know, even though you all look adorable on the outside, you still have some bits you have to work on. And when you become vulnerable like that, I believe people can follow you. I believe people can go down that path. They're not looking for perfect. They're looking for real.
Yeah.
And so, I know that you all, oh, go ahead.
I would say really quick, when I first got into self-development, like having really just studied and worked on myself for a lot of years, I would judge myself if I ever went into a negative state, because I thought I had to reach this level where I would be happy, positive, excited all of the time. And now I realize that we're human and we're going to experience these up and down waves of emotions. And it's a matter of, well, how long do you stay there? Right. And, you know, we know couples, because you heard him say a moment ago, oh, maybe it lasts 20 minutes. We've met couples where their fights or speed bumps last for days. And we just bring a lot of emotional intelligence into our relationship, conscious communication. And we're okay with like being wrong, I guess you could say, like owning ourselves and our side of the street. Like, hey, you know what? I was really rude, or, you know, that was my fault. And just like apologizing. And, you know, that's a part of vulnerability too that we bring to our relationship, is kind of like just laying down the ego, because that will get you nowhere.
That's beautiful. And not just how long do you stay down there, but how extreme do you go when you get down there?
Exactly.
Yeah, because you don't have to, because I feel grouchy and miserable. I don't have to tear you down. I can acknowledge that I am feeling atrocious and you might not want to talk to me for a little bit. You know, we can monitor and control to some extent how far we go.
Yeah, that's good. That's so good. We have extra ammo for us right now too, to take off those masks and be vulnerable, because we're bringing a little boy into this world, and we want to be able to, you guys know, it's like, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And so when they see you, you know, having some happen and then apologizing, when they see you sharing your emotions, like, I have a goal. I want my son to see me cry. Like, why? Because I want him to see that you don't have to man up, right? You can express yourself then take control of those emotions, say, what do I want to do from here? You know, it's like, yeah, daddy cries, right? Tears of joy, tears of sorrow, whatever it is. But then it's like, okay, well, what am I going to do about it moving forward? How am I going to take this and grow from it? And I want him to be able to see that, and, you know, that we put each other first. And I know a lot of parents don't agree with this sometimes, but, you know, that mommy and daddy's love comes first doesn't mean we don't love our child. It's just we want them to see the example of what a successful relationship is. So when they're 14, 18, 24, 34, they're not in and out of relationships like we were because we were so unstable, right?
That's
so,
a good.
And, you know, I am passionate about this, and I'm so glad that you guys are so aware when you're about to have a kid, because a lot of the limiting beliefs that we have about how much we expect other people to like us or love us, or about whether we expect to be rejected, or about whether we expect to be able to succeed, those things are built at unreasonable times. You know, by the time we're 5 years old, we have a lot of expectations, and they're built on completely inept levels of our own maturity, but they're lifelong if we don't take control of them. So you guys actually have an opportunity to build them well in your son, and I love that.
well, if we don't get it right with the first one, we'll get it right with the second one, you know?
I think you're totally right to be together first, right? You know, it's us. Yes, we love you, but we're going to be together for life, and you're going to be here for a few years, and then you're going to have your own wife. That's a really important priority to set.
Yeah.
And we have family that doesn't agree with it. And again, that's where we have to, you know, be vulnerable enough to say, you know, hey, we appreciate that, and not put them down. We appreciate that. And, you know, hey, here's what this is how we're raising our family. And then part of the chip on my shoulder goes, we'll see in about 18 years how that works out, who is right, you know? So,
that makes a child feel secure, though. I know that mom and dad are a team, and even though I wish I could manipulate them, I know where the line is. So I kids like margins, even though they say they hate them. I hated margins, right? But inside of me, I needed them so badly. I needed to know where those lines were, and I totally support you guys on that.
Yeah. Well,
And I think that if you don't put each other first, then you can't love that baby enough. Like, you have to learn to love each other, and then you will have the ability to love that baby enough.
Yeah.
and we have these conscious conversations like, hey, when we're in the other room and a little guy comes up and says, you know, hey, mommy, can I have a cookie? And, you know, her response is,
Go ask daddy.
or what did daddy
Or
say,
what did
right?
daddy say?
Right? And so because we want them to see we're a team. And if mommy says no, then, hey, whether it's for your favor or not, daddy agrees. You know, and if we need to, as a team, make an adjustment, you know, we'll let them know. If we need to make an adjustment, we'll do it as a team versus independently. And that's where I think couples have that, they create speed bumps, is because they're not on the same page. They haven't had the conscious conversation on how to prepare ahead of time for certain things. Preparation is key in so many things, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, we can prepare for a child we don't know, but we do the best we can, and that's what we're doing. But we've made these decisions ahead of time. So in the midst of the chaos with him running around and, you know, temper tantrums, we know we already have it planned, what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I love it. It takes away a lot of the pressure. Well, you know, I know you guys are awesome sauce personally, and I know you're awesome sauce in business. I'd like to fast forward a little bit to what you guys are doing, because I know you have helped a lot of people make a lot of money and do a lot of amazing things. And I don't want to lose that part of your story, because you guys stepped back from a life you didn't want to create and created a whole new list and got into this awesome relationship. But you also have a business.
Yeah. I guess the business was kind of birthed out of pain for me. I was in $30,000 credit card debt 3 times. And so I had to change some belief systems so I never go back there again, which was great. But I started in network marketing, and then from there I just found this insatiable hunger to serve and to help people. And this is one thing I love about her too, is we both love, helping people end suffering. And I think it's because we suffered for so much and so long that it's like, okay, we don't suffer nearly as much anymore, because suffering is a choice. We're all going to go through pain, but suffering is a choice. The choice to believe in that story and press play on it over and over in our head again. And so suffering is a choice. And so anyway, we just know we want to end suffering. And that's where as we started out doing coaching, helping people one-on-one. And over the years, it's been an incredible process. We have a lot of success stories in ourselves, not to pat ourselves on the back, but it's like when you have people come to you and say, you've literally changed my life. For example, really quick, one of my clients, he sent me a text. I bought my mom her dream car today, a brand new E-Class Mercedes, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, send me a video, do you have a video of it? And he sends me a video and he's like, how do you like it, Mom? And his sisters are there and everyone. And he's like, say hi to Joe, my life coach. And it was like, wow, I got a personal message. And he's like, yeah, everyone in my family knows who you are because you've helped me go from making $5,000 a month to my business doing $5 million a month now. And it's just like, man, to be part of that and to hear that and to say, wow, I played a part, that's huge. So we've come together and we've created our company called Master Life by Design. So it's about consciously creating what you want and to end that suffering and to say, okay, what do I want to create? Who do I want to become? What do I want to build in my life? And now we have the gift to do that. I don't want to say every day because we don't coach every day. We have a life too, but when we do, we have that ability to work with people and, help them create that impact, that transformation. And I know you want to share, but I'll share this. I just had a client less than 6 months ago. He was dating women, a big executive down in Orange County, California. And he was, dating and just wasn't fulfilled. And fast forward 6 months later, he found this incredible woman. He's married now, which is so great. He met her at church, which is even better. And no one will know. And they're pregnant.
Hey,
yay! When you hear stories like that, it's like that's the fuel that fills you up, and you're just like, let's go. And so we really have a passion and help people consciously create what they want and create their life by design and not by default. So
yeah, because we're all such powerful creators. And I mean, just my own story and how I was living in anger, sadness, fear, jealousy for so many years. I felt like I was a prisoner of my own mind, and I pulled myself out of it. And so empowering people to step up and create the life that they're destined to live it brings me so much joy. I hate seeing people suffer. And so for me, it's I have some similar stories to Joe, but even just small ones, when I started coaching with you, I was depressed and I had anxiety, and now my life is, completely transformed, and I don't live in those emotions anymore. That for me is just even a huge success on its own. But yeah.
And look, what saddens our heart is when people come to us in pain, and you have the solution, but the solution is going to require the most precious thing in life out there, outside of oxygen, that's your time. And so I look at it as when people come to us, it's like, I'm giving up time in my life to help you away from my wife, my child. And what I found is most people are so afraid to invest in themselves. And when we tell them hey, there's got to be an investment in this relationship, when they know they need help, and they allow money to stop them. And it's so painful to watch, because that was me for so many years. I wish I would have invested when I first learned that I could invest in someone that could help me, because I wasted 5 years of my life, and they weren't even, I don't want to say wasted, but they were painful.
Yeah.
Right? I could have easily in 2-3 calls been out of 5 years worth of pain. But we also got to have skin in the game. Otherwise we don't take it as much value. And so it's sad when we know we can help someone, but they don't see it, and then they walk away. And what they don't realize is money comes and goes. But your happiness, your life, your health, that you only get one shot at that, right? And so if you're not willing to invest in yourself, what are you willing to invest in? Because you're going to invest in something, and it's usually going to be more pain if you don't step out of faith and go forward. So
you're singing to the choir.
Yeah, you guys
Love it.
I am absolutely loving everything you all are saying, because this is, just reaffirms everything this conference is about.
Yes.
That we don't have to stay in those places of pain. We do have a choice. And sometimes we have to go through a process. Well, most of the time, we have to go through a process. But I love that you point out the investment. There's going to be an investment either way. You can invest in the pain, or you can invest, in the change.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I love that you all have the tools to help people change. I have said this, and I think I said this to you, Joe, at the conference we met at, that I believe you're an influencer of influencers. And I still believe that, even more so, because, the people that you are helping to change their lives, it doesn't just change theirs. It's they turn around and, give tidbits of wisdom, or people watch by example even what they're doing, which creates even more change. So
that ripple effect is, you're so right. I have to throw this out there because of what you said is people want to see that you live by example, right? And I talk about the investment. I know over this last decade, I've probably spent close to $300,000 on myself over this last decade. And I don't say that to impress anyone watching. I say it to impress upon you that if you're going to make a change, it doesn't come by doing the same things. It comes by investing in yourself. And, you're going to have to make that investment. You don't have to do as much as I did or she did, or anyone on this conference today. I know anyone that's on here, you guys have invested, probably just as the same amount, if not more. And so, but it's like, we only get to this point because of the time and the financial investment we made in ourselves. So you can look at anyone that's coming to this conference, us, you guys, and say, wow, I wish I could be like them. And you absolutely can, but you got to have that courage and take the action to get there. So
I just have to reiterate, this is exactly why I was fired up that you all were going to make the sacrifice to come on today. Because you all do live this. You all are designing your life. You all are leading others. You are showing the way. And it's not a, you should do this. I'm not going to do this, but you should do this.
Exactly.
It's a telling the truth about like where you came from and the investment that you made to get there. But how much is that $300,000 worth? Like how much is that going to last over the next 50 years, relationally, business-wise, personally, your children, your grandchildren? I mean, how much is that going to impact the rest of your life?
Well, and you said that when you started this process, you had been in like $30,000 worth of credit card debt 3 times. You were spending it either way, right?
Yeah.
We're going to spend our time and our money either way. And now you've directed it towards something that's actually making you a successful, sustainable life.
Yeah. It's like you just said, you could have took that $300,000 and put it somewhere else. We would love to put it on our new house. We're building a new house. In fact, as soon as we're done here, we're going to our house. We're building a nice 6-bedroom, 4-bed house. Like and I don't, again, not to impress you, just saying like, hey, when you're strategic and you can manage your lifestyle, you can have those things. But, it's our first home. And we could put all that money down on it and have it nearly paid off, but we would be miserable and we would be sucking from each other until it wouldn't work and we'd have to sell that home. And, if that happens, divorce happens, then you're only getting half. So you're like, you're not just investing in yourself, even though that's the biggest thing. You're investing, like you guys were saying, the ripple effect, a home, your investments in the future. And most importantly for us, we're altering the direction of our family trees. And I don't say that because ours are bad. It's just going in a different direction that we choose to design our family lineage from this point forward on, like, what mindset are our kids going to get and how we're going to help full time for them and catapult their lives forward because of that, and not have to work on all this baggage when we're 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. They can get a jump start from the go right now. So it just has that multiple effect to it.
I just want to make sure that you're decorating my room in sparkly things.
Yes. That's her department. Her department.
I love
She's
glitter.
a glitter girl.
Walls now, I'm highly considered one.
Not the house.
I cannot wait to come and stay because I'm like inviting myself. That's what I do.
Hey, you're welcome. You're
We
welcome.
have plenty of room
We-
for both of you.
Yeah. And we're going to hold masterminds there and everything. So it's going to be great when we can bring business leaders in and you know, just share with each other and how we can make a bigger impact, not only in our lives, but in the world. In fact, I just posted something today. It says you should be ashamed of living if you haven't made an impact on humanity in some way. And it wasn't those exact words, but it was something similar. So if you're not doing it yet, anyone watching, don't feel bad. Right? Let it go, right? Focus on what's coming. Anyway, yeah.
Let that judgment go.
Great, I said it, sorry.
As long as you do it. We'll let you let it go as long as you do something about it. So tell us how to get, like, anyone watching, how they can get a hold of you. We've already had like thousands of people on our conference, just so you know.
Yeah.
And so you might get you might get some people who want to connect with you all on a much more personal level and find out about your coaching and find out about, I'm going to be watching because I'm going to be watching for baby pics, but
Well, we're on Facebook, both of us, Master Life by Design, and then also our website, masterlifebydesign.com. And pretty much all of our social medias, YouTube, Instagram, it's all Master Life by Design podcasts.
If people want to find out a little more about us, we share value content on our YouTube channel and our podcast. We also share, if anyone cares, about our journey in life. Yeah. So we got the Team Moffett journey that we keep people posted on some of the things happening in life. And then we also interview people that are making an impact on this world. So if you don't resonate with us, but you resonate with others, come check out our channel and say.
Awesome. And Connie did put the website in the comments. Thank you, Connie.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I just don't know how to tell y'all thanks enough for the sacrifice of being so tired and moving and doing all the things you're doing and still being on the Hope to Hope conference. I hope you see now why you're such a good fit.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate it.
Well, if you're listening to this awesome couple, I do hope that you go out and connect with them on social media or their website, or, you know, I can't stress enough that we're giving you opportunity and access to people that you might never have known or you might never have connected with. And if you take this opportunity and you throw it away because you don't contact or you don't connect, I think you're crazy. I'm just going to say that a million times because it's crazy to live a life less than what you can have. Yes. You don't have to settle for even good. You can have a great life. Yes. And these two are a perfect example of not settling. Yes. And so if you're out there and you're listening and you're going through anything, please get on and connect. And I love how they said this too. And I always say flavor. If they're not your flavor, find someone on this conference that is your flavor and take advantage of the opportunity for access. Mm-hmm. So we love you guys for sure. Like, thanks for coming on, and everybody that's following, we love you, and we hope that you will connect. We will be back for the last session. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I know, in just a little bit. I can't believe that the conference is almost over.
Oh my goodness, it's been so fun.
It's
so fun. I'm so glad to get to meet you guys. Thank you.
Nice meeting you as well.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I will share one last thing. as one of our teachers would say, it's an ancient Hawaiian saying. I can't pronounce it right now, but it says, what is it? Lean not that all wisdom is in one school, or it's something similar to that. And it's like, don't think that all education or one coach or one company has all the answers. Explore each one, and then go out and see who do you resonate with, and there's other people who have different perspectives. So we don't think we have all the answers, but we do have answers. So.
Yeah.
And you all are living those answers. That's my favorite part.
We'll find the answers.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, ladies.
Awesome.
We appreciate it.
We'll be back in just a little bit with the Hope to Hope Conference. I'm Kim White with the My Sexy Business team.
And I'm Kristi Bridges with One Moment Wiser.
Thank you, guys.